Hello everyone, I'm Laura Ling. Thank you for joining me for the Seeker Facebook Live session. This is my first live Facebook thing and I'm very excited about it. I hope that you've had a chance to check out Seeker.com. We just relaunched this site this week and we're very excited about it. You can go to Seeker.com to I'm so proud of this website. I think that you will be in awe, inspired, and informed about what's going on in this crazy, beautiful world of ours. So please check out Seeker.com. But today, for this live stream, I want to talk about an issue that I believe is impacting so many young people today. I think it's one of the most important issues facing young people, and that is the state of higher education. And whether or not that typical 4-year bachelor's degree is relevant in this 21st century where the world is changing so rapidly, or whether it's becoming outdated. Not to mention the fact that students are drowning in student loan debt. I think that the stat for 2016 is something like $37,000 in debt that a student is leaving college with, which is absolutely insane. It's unfathomable. And what are students getting with that degree? Is this the golden ticket to some high-paying or even decent-paying job? You know, what is it affording young people? Unfortunately, for many, it's not paving the way to that job that can help pay off their debts very quickly. And so I'm here today at Make School, which is a very unique school. It's based in San Francisco, California. And what makes Make School unique is a few things. But first of all, they are really rethinking the approach to higher education. Some students here have left the traditional university, have dropped out of schools like Cornell, UC Irvine, etc., to attend this school. What's really interesting is that they charge no tuition up front, zero, nada. And that's really interesting. We're going to get to that more in a minute, but first I want to introduce the Make School's co-founder, Jeremy Rossman. So
this is my first Facebook live stream as well, so this is very, very exciting. Congrats on the new website launch.
Thank you, and thanks for chatting with us, Jeremy.
Absolutely.
So you know, I kind of teed up. You and I met several months ago.
You did.
And I was very inspired by what you're doing here. First of all, how old are you?
24.
You're 24 years old.
Eminently qualified. Yeah.
Well, you went to MIT, right?
But did not complete. So I hold a high school diploma and a couple years of MIT under my belt.
Why did you leave MIT?
At the time, I wasn't satisfied with the direction that my education was going. My particular interest was in using software to build products and make impact. And I was someone who had come in with some prior programming experience and found a computer science curriculum that hadn't been updated since about 2007. That was mixed in with a lot of electrical engineering that wasn't really relevant to my career goals, and overall an environment that was not supportive of my entrepreneurial and sort of product development ambitions. And so I ended up on the side with a bunch of friends to supplement what I was getting in my traditional education. We started a little game development studio, and we launched a game that ended up getting featured by Apple. And that was kind of the pivotal moment where I realized I was not only spending more time on this thing that wasn't my formal schooling, I was actually learning more from it. And my co-founder had the same experience sort of in parallel towards the last years of high school, and he went to UCLA. We've known each other since high school. He launched an app also. And we realized we're in this world where universities are not adapting very fast. The curricula are staying pretty static, and the world is changing rapidly. And one of the big things that has changed about this world is that individuals like me and my students now have access to technologies that allow them to build and launch products with really wide reach like it wasn't possible before. You imagine 10, 15 years ago you wanted to launch a website, you had to get millions of dollars to buy servers and things like that, and now there's 101 services, you press a button, you have a web page, right? You submit an app to Apple, it's on the App Store, it can be in the pockets of millions. And that is a big, big change. And so there's a new generation of students like me who are looking at computer science and software engineering as a tool to make impact and are getting impatient, I think, with the options available to them out there. And so that was kind of the catalyst for my departure. A bunch of my friends were asking me how I learned how to make apps to teach them, and sort of one thing led to another, and next thing you know, I am running a school and we teach a lot of things, amongst them app development.
Yeah, so you started the Make School, and
Yes.
I know on the website, I mean, the school professes to be a 2-year college replacement for
Yes.
founders and developers.
That's correct.
So who's coming here and what are they hoping to do?
So,
And by the way, I want to just interrupt us for a second
Sure.
to talk to the viewers and just ask you all, if you have any questions for Jeremy, please write them in the comment section, and we'll
Because
get to
we're
those in
live.
a second. Yeah.
awesome. So students are typically coming out of high school or transferring in after a couple years of college. In fact, we get more students coming in after 1 or 2 years in college than straight out of high school. I think because high school students have this dream of what college should be like. It's hard to tell a high school student to forego that dream, but a college student has seen the reality, and many of them are making maybe a more informed decision. Students are coming here because they want to be in the heart of Silicon Valley. They're coming here because they want to learn computer science, software engineering, product development. They're coming here because they want jobs in tech. And that's a much broader term, I think, than people maybe realize today. When we run demo nights, we have companies in the room that are building software for medicine, for doctors, software for finance, software for farming, software for construction, and of course, your good old social networks and other services. So we have a variety of interests represented amongst our students, but the goal is to end up somewhere where you're writing software to make impact, to build great products at some great Silicon Valley tech company. And that's the primary goal behind students coming to Make School and switching out of whatever other options they may have had, or foregoing those options to be here instead.
So tell me about this no tuition thing, 'cause I'm sure that's piquing people's interest right now.
It totally is. So it just makes sense. Like, if you had to reinvent a model of education today where you wanted to align your incentives with those of your students, and you needed to be able to have some amount of money coming in to support the operation of the school, you would never think that it was reasonable to charge that money up front when the experience that you're selling your students on is a ticket to a better life. You should take students' money when you've helped them achieve that outcome, and only if you've helped them achieve that outcome, right? So
what do you guys do?
we take a percentage of student salary during a 6-month internship that they do, and then again for 2 years after they graduate.
What's the percentage?
So we're actually revamping the percentage, though I'm going to say it out loud to my students in the back of the room, and they haven't heard this yet. But we're looking at something on the order of 20% during their internship period, and then 20% for 4 years after they graduate. But maybe giving students a few different options. If they want to pay a higher percentage for a shorter period of time, they can. But that's going to be probably the default for next class, and we're going to apply it retroactively to this class as well.
And so is that the thinking going that you are going to prepare them
That's right.
for a job, help
That's
them
right.
get that job, and that's when you guys will, take part of the salary.
That's exactly right. So if a student decides to go backpacking in Thailand, good for them. We're not going to be charging them during that time. We select our students because of their intelligence, their drive, their talent, but also because our goals are aligned. They come because they know they want jobs in tech. And so sooner or later, they're going to be taking those jobs, and that is when they start making money is when we start making money, not a moment sooner. They never owe us $1 they don't have. That's how it works. And we think that model is fair, and if we end up getting a student a wonderful 6-figure job at Google, which we have a student who's at Google today. He actually dipped out of the semester a little bit early to start his job, so he's right there right now. And some of those students may pay a little bit more than students who are maybe at up-and-coming startups that are paying a lower salary, but by and large, our students from this cohort have been very, very successful. We're very proud of them, including one at Google, one at IDEO. We've had students in the past cohort at Snapchat, Pandora, and it's the model that works. It's the model that's right. It's, I think, something that we're going to see not only copied. I say copied makes it sound bad. I think adopted, and we see that as a positive thing from other institutions. And when that happens, I look forward to people looking back and saying, "Oh, well, the crazy 24-year-old and his co-founder, they had it right.
Well, we are speaking with Jeremy Rossman, who's the co-founder of Make School. If you want to get in on this conversation about reinventing education, please comment and please share this with your friends right now so that they can join in the conversation as well. Jeremy, you just talked about your students going off to places such as Google.
Yep.
Where did your students just graduated? Is that correct?
So this is the last day of our first year in the 2-year program. So they completed the first year in a sense. We had a little send-off ceremony yesterday. Make School is not accredited, not degree granting. So kind of tongue-in-cheek, we made paper plate, official paper plate and marker
that was their
diplomas for the first year. Every student had their own custom superlative that we delivered. So it was a really, really, really great day yesterday.
I don't even know where my diploma is. Actually.
Right? Like, when's the last time you showed someone your diploma? And I want to be clear that the message is not that college is a bad idea for everyone and that it's all a scam or something. But we're entering an era where students have to be making very informed decisions and following the cultural pressure to blindly go for a college education at whatever price, at whatever institution, follow your dreams, major in what you love, and it's all going to work out. That world is no longer the world we live in. And so in that world, new options are cropping up, and I think for students who are focused on a career in tech, we are the new best option.
Well, so that's interesting because your students are focused in tech. They're more in that computer science
That's right.
Focus. So can this model be applied to other areas?
I think that it can be. We're in this area because it's an area I understand very well. I grew up around here. I was surrounded by people who were interested in tech, and so there's a practical aspect to it, which is that I know tech. I want to build a school that helps students who are like me, and I can serve them best because they are, interested in the same things that I was interested in. But I think as this model gets proven out, both the different time frame, looking at how long you actually need to spend to get the skills to succeed in industry. 4 years doesn't really make sense that it's 4 years for everything. Why is it the same number of years for someone who's never touched a line of code as someone who's been programming since they were 13? Why does it happen to be 4 years for mechanical engineering and architecture? And there's something going on there where we've just kind of adopted an old school standard. So looking at different time frames, looking at being more closely tied to industry, higher education, a lot of places need to admit to themselves that a lot of the students that are coming into their institutions are not looking for a career in research, not looking for a career in being a professor, they're looking for careers in industry, and so they have to adopt that role proactively. And then the income share model is one that I think, as we prove out those 3 different facets of this new school, others are going to look and say, oh, well, that could work for design, that could work for certain types of other engineering. Where it's going to be slowest to adopt is any fields that are licensed, right? So I don't know that your doctors, your lawyers are going to be going through educational programs that have radically different models anytime soon because there's certain standards set in place that are really difficult to change, and maybe they shouldn't change. It's not my domain of expertise. But I know that I'm running a school that is not degree granting, that is located in the heart of Silicon Valley, and the companies that parents would tell me, oh my gosh, I can't send my kid to Make School. They're never going to get a job because companies won't hire them. They don't have a degree. In this area, that's turning out to be very, very not true. And that may also turn out to be a change, is that employers stop looking at whether there's this is or isn't a degree, but rather start looking at what have you done, what's your portfolio. And so the degree may remain valuable, it's hard to tell, but it's not going to be that thing that you talk about. You're going to talk about what you did during your college years in the same way that colleges don't just look at your high school diploma, right? The colleges are looking at your extracurriculars, not just your grades, but also the way that you write, the way that you communicate, what you've created, what you've done. I think jobs are going to start looking at that very, very extensively to a point where the degree is going to be a much, much smaller part of the bigger picture. And people without that degree, but who have all these other foundations, are going to have better ways to show that they are qualified. And so we're going to get to a bit of a more meritocratic place, I think, as the mismatch between universities and industry has gotten bigger and bigger, and companies just can't afford not to be more open-minded about these things.
Right, let's see if we have any questions from viewers page.
Yeah,
please.
so Kunal has said, have you been finding that that students are any less eligible for jobs without degrees? What's been the experience with that as students apply?
So there's certain big companies that are bureaucratic. They have, their recruiters have been told you can only talk to people who are enrolled in a degree granting program. And so for some of those companies, students have had to basically, apply elsewhere because the companies have been conservative. The attitude is rapidly disappearing. And the vast majority of companies that you'd want to work for in the Valley that are new, that are open-minded, that are desirable, either don't have that attitude or are rapidly changing. So Google was such a company that publicly has that attitude where they, for their internship programs, are only going to look at students enrolled in a degree granting program, and yet our student was able to find a way around that by applying through a different program and still was able to get a job. At the end of the day, the skills count, and they wanted him, and he wanted them, and so he's there. Companies like our corporate partners, as companies as big as LinkedIn, as Lyft, Tilt, Teespring, Hipmunk, Edmodo, these are all companies that have signed on to say, we'll recognize the Make School credential, and we're not going to be tossing candidates out of the pool just because of the degree. So it's.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but you all are really expanding. You were talking earlier about these programs that you have internationally.
Correct. So Make School is running programs now in our summer format. We run this 2-year program, which we've been talking about, and then a summer program for high school and college students who are on break. That summer program is going to be all over the world. And the reason that the 2-year program does exist in San Francisco and not in the other cities only have a summer program, is that this is the most open-minded place about degrees right now, and therefore the best place to be if you're running a new institution like ours. So there's no question that we benefit a lot from being in the Silicon Valley. And I can tell you that there ain't a company that is, maybe fewer than 100 people that cares about degrees that we've come across. And we've had in a room 30 students and 100 plus companies in the room, like 3-to-1, 4-to-1 ratios of company representatives to students coming to recruit. And these are all companies who know that Make School is not degree granting and who are in the building to meet Make School students and to see if they can hire them. So the employment aspect has not been a problem.
Yeah, I mean, no one has ever asked me for, my degree or to see my diploma. I think I got a really great education, but I also learned so much on the ground, on the job. And I'd love to know from viewers, what you think, whether the current model of education is outdated, because it's just crazy how much debt people are incurring these days.
It's like $1.5 trillion, 1.5 trillion nationwide, I think.
Something like that. It's insane, and the model is, like you said, we're expecting students to go through this typical 4-year path, starting at 18 years old, and then just be ready once they get out. What's happening during those 4 years? I don't think a lot has changed since our grandparents were in school. When you go into a lecture, you have
much.
that professor speaking, where a lot of that can be online these days. And do you feel like the current model, is relevant today?
First, I'll say, by the way, that the debt number is undercounting the problem. Because as tuition rates have gone up, families have had to pay more to attend. And even if they're not going in debt, the amount of money that's been sucked out of families' pockets has increased tremendously, right? So the debt is part of the number, but also the amount that families' savings have disappeared to send their children to college has increased dramatically. So the problem is bigger than just that $37,000 debt number. It's as big as the increasing tuition that we're seeing nationwide. Programs really vary in their quality, but on a sort of nationwide policy-making level, there is not an emphasis amongst the accrediting agencies in the United States that accredit most of the prestigious schools that you've heard of. They're called regional accrediting agencies. They do not have a mandate, and they do not make schools track outcomes. And many schools have actively resisted initiatives by the Department of Education, the Undersecretary of the Department of Education, to encourage accreditors to start asking schools to track outcomes. So it's very hard to get better at something if you're not tracking it, and if you aren't being held to a certain standard. That's how the world works. If you're not being graded on it, then you're not really going to have an incentive to improve.
And so how do you grade yourselves? Is it based on the types of jobs that you're finding your students?
I mean, honestly, if we don't get our students good jobs, then we go out of business. That's a pretty good incentive structure. pretty good incentive structure. Right now, the federal government will give any Title IV eligible school a lump sum of money the moment that a student signs the enrollment agreement and enrolls. So if you are running a school, man, that is federal funding eligible, you're running an enviable business. You can enroll students the moment they sign. The federal government wires you tens of thousands of dollars, and the federal government's accrediting agencies that they have approved, who are supposed to have oversight on you, won't penalize you if those students graduate with debt. And so that incentive structure incentivizes schools to raise tuition to keep up with each other, because there's free money from the federal government coming in, and there's no penalties for not having good outcomes. So why would you invest in, like if you had a choice between building a beautiful new sports complex, climbing wall, and stadium to attract more students so that they could enroll, and you could get the free money from the government, or spend more money on professors, curriculum, facilities, well, you're not getting graded on that part, and people are, still going to be okay as long as they get a degree at the end, is what the schools are thinking. So you're investing in your climbing walls, you're investing in your fancy new gyms, and your cafeterias, and your new dorms, and in your sports stadiums. Most schools are losing money on those sports programs. You're doing all of that to be more attractive to students, to enroll more students, and you're not getting graded on the outcomes. And you're going to survive because the federal government's going to still give you money. So we don't take any public funding, any federal funding. We survive because our students get great jobs that they love, and they pay us a share of their salary for a few short years, after which they are debt-free. They're always in the green, never in the red, and I think that's just the better model.
Gonna take another question, but
Yeah. And I have an idea how to fix it, by the way.
yes.
If you create an incentive structure where schools are rewarded for graduates that succeed and penalized for graduates that don't, then as rational economic actors, these schools are going to start shifting their own resources towards keeping their curriculum updated, talking to industry, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, versus building fancy new facilities.
Yeah.
I mean, so many schools in the US right now are in debt themselves because they've taken out loans to keep up with the Joneses in building beautiful new campuses and whatnot. And ultimately, an education is not the beautiful new campus. An education is the quality of your faculty, the quality of your content, the quality of your peer group, the quality of your industry connections. And so what's going to fix it is when the Department of Education gets their way, is able to convince accreditors to change the standards and force schools to start investing money in improving outcomes. And then I think you're going to see tuition rates normalize, as market rates won't be distorted by the free money from the government. And the government, instead of being the one that is maybe caused part of the problem, will start being able to be the one that fixes it, because they're going to start having the authority to enforce standards. And that's a movement we're seeing that just started happening in the past year. So if you're politically inclined and you're following this, it's only in the past year that we're seeing a lot of progress politically in getting accrediting agencies to start really piloting mechanisms to track outcomes with schools.
Let's take another question.
So Nandine wants to know, what subjects do you teach?
What subjects do you teach?
What subjects do we teach? So we're heavily focused on computer science, software engineering, and product development. But to be a great engineer in today's world, you need to know how to work on a team. You need to know how to communicate. You need to know how to understand people and build products they love. You need to understand design. So we have everything from communications courses, public speaking, current events, entrepreneurship, design, all the way to your more traditional algorithms, data structures, and then things that are more industry focused, like mobile development, web development, Internet of Things, hardware development. So there's a wide range with an emphasis on tech. But if you meet our students, or if you go to our website and you watch the video that's on our homepage, you just hear our students talking about why they want to program. And what you'll see is their motivations in coming to Make School are to use software to build great things. And they're far less, for lack of a better term, far less traditionally nerdy. They're stereotypically nerdy than you might imagine. They have an incredibly diverse set of interests, and as a result, our course offerings are more diverse than you might imagine at the sort of new Silicon Valley tech school. And we can talk to a couple of students about the courses that they took when we get a chance to talk to them later in this live segment. And you can ask them what they were enrolled in and what classes. And you'll see there's a pretty wide variety with an emphasis on tech.
Well, why don't we do that? Why don't we go meet with one of your students and see
Sure.
how nerdy he is?
All right.
I love nerds. So.
I love nerds. I mean, you're talking to like number one over here, but there's the modern nerd who has a wide variety of interests amongst the nerdy ones, and then there's a stereotypical nerd, which I don't think ever truly existed. But people sometimes imagine, it's going to be. I mean, the student you're going to talk to yesterday at our send-off told told the Make School faculty that in fact the moment he decided to enroll was when he realized that it wasn't just going to be a nerd school. So we can talk to him about that.
Okay.
And let's go meet him.
Let's do it. I'll let you lead the way.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Laura.
All right, Josh, nice to meet you.
So Josh, what year are you here? Is it your first or second? Or did you just graduate?
I just graduated today.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's so exciting. So do you know what you're going to go on to do? Do you have a job lined up?
Yeah, I have a job starting in 2 weeks now. I'm going to be working at Life 360 as an iOS developer.
Okay.
It's a company of around like 55 employees, and we're doing like family location sharing. So I'll be on their engagement team.
Great. What has your experience been like here at Make School?
So far so great. I've gotten along with all the students. My iOS skills have progressed immensely.
Did you go to a different school or did you come straight to Make School?
Yeah, I spent 2 years at UCLA before transferring over to Make School.
I see. Okay. So what was the reason for transferring?
When I first went to college, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and I think that was a great experience. But once I figured out that I wanted to get into tech, I realized that these theoretical classes weren't where I was going to be able to apply my knowledge in the real world. So I wanted to find a school that I could learn what I was going to actually be doing in the industry, and Make School has been the best place for that.
How did your parents feel?
I don't think they were too excited at first. Coming around the
I'm
block.
a Bruin, by the way.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, my mom was too. So she really wanted me to graduate, but I think after I got a full-time offer about a month ago, I think they were really excited.
So do you think they were still pretty apprehensive while you were at Make School?
Yes, definitely. They were trying to convince me to leave, go back to college, finish the degree. Maybe I might do that, but I think I'm pretty set for the moment.
Yeah, well, you save them some money as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So show me what you've been working on here at Make School, because you all have projects where you create
Yeah.
your own apps
Yeah.
and other things, right?
So the White House announced the Connect All initiative and allowed a team of Make School students to contribute to the initiative. We decided to start building a site geared towards first-time internet users. So we built a site for curated resources to teach people how to learn anything from how to use a mouse to how to use a Facebook page, like how to use Netflix, stuff like this. So
This is actually, this is so important because a lot of people are being left behind, whether it's in our country or around the world, because they don't have the skills that, the computer skills that others have. I want to just pause for a second and just ask everyone here to please share this with your friends and comment, because we will take questions for Josh if anyone has any questions. Okay, so you partnered with the White House to build this app to help people become more computer literate. Is that right? Okay.
So as you can see here, this is a list of the popular tutorials on the site. Not only can somebody click through a tutorial and perhaps learn how to use Windows 10, but if you're an internet expert, you can actually contribute your own knowledge to the entire site and create your own tutorial so that other people can learn what you're great at as well.
That's cool. And can you also as a user, write in a question if you want to learn something that may not be on the site, and then an
Absolutely.
expert can chime in?
Yes. Yeah. We'll be taking recommendations for things that people want to learn and then post it on a board. And people who have the knowledge to create these tutorials can pick them up and start making them on the fly.
That's very cool and meaningful work that you're doing.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions for Josh?
Can you talk a little bit more about his project?
Oh, sure. Oh, Jeremy has a question.
I can guide a question, which is, it'd be awesome if you could describe the process of building it, both from how you went out to actually understand who these end users are going to be, because we are everyday internet users. So how did you get to understand what they would want, what would a first-time internet user would want, and also maybe some of the technology behind it? Did you build it from scratch? What did you, how did you make it? So those two facets would be really cool to hear.
Absolutely. When I first started building the project, we did not start coding first. We actually got out of the building, got to talk to real users. We talked to over 100 librarians across the United States. It turns out that about 25% of households don't have internet access in their own home, so they end up going to the libraries to use the computers and then asking librarians tons of questions that get repeated over and over again. So we built this tool towards these type of users who are going into libraries asking librarians questions. So not only is it helping the people learn the internet, but it's saving librarians time so that they can spend time doing more things, like helping more people. After about 2 weeks of the user discovery phase, we got into building the hard project. We built the stack from scratch using Ruby on Rails and Angular on the front end. So after about 3 weeks of building the initial site, the MVP, we got out of the building again, talked to users, got to have feedback on our own designs and own user experience, and then iterate on that to make something even better. And we'll continue to keep iterating on this product just to make it as easy to use and as useful as it possibly can.
Is this product live for people to use right now?
Technically, yes. We will be launching it on a real domain address this afternoon, actually. Right now,
cool.
it's just set up as a Heroku account.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a demo website.
Gotcha. But you will be giving it an official URL later. Do you know what that is?
Correct. Yeah. If you want to check out the site, go digitalwith.us. This afternoon, it should be live.
Go digital
With us.
Go digital with us dot.
It's .us.
Oh, gotcha. Go digital with dot us.
Yes.
That's so
Not
cool.
us. That's cool. I like it.
Do you have any libraries that are going to be using it in the coming months?
Yeah, we're having our first public launch of the San Francisco library system. So there's going to be about 8 different libraries using the site with people coming into the library from day one.
That's awesome.
So Natasha wants to know, what languages do you use?
For the website, we used Ruby on Rails, and then JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. Outside of just this website alone, at Make School, I've learned anything from Python to C++ to Swift and Objective-C. So we've done iOS programming, web programming, data structures and algorithms, really the entire thing.
What do you think is the biggest thing that you've gotten out of your education here that you may not have gotten from traditional school?
Yeah, I really think it's the community. Being around people who are excited to build products just like I am, it's pushed all of us. It's made us want to be a better version of ourselves. And being able to learn from different people who are experts in like one particular domain is something that I wouldn't have gained out of a university, just because there's like a broader knowledge there.
And on the flip side, because you were at traditional university, is there something that you really missed?
I miss my friends. Shout out to all my friends back at UCLA. I do go back and visit them, but I expect them to join me in San Francisco sometime in the next few years, and we'll be working on some projects together.
What was a typical day like at Make School, and did you live in dorms or something?
Yeah, I lived in the, we call it the Make Mansion. It's our Make School student dorms, essentially. We get into the office around 10:20 to 10:30 and have early morning stand-ups with our one of our instructor leads. This is a good way to get in touch with your instructors and see what's going on for the day if you have any blockers. And then we typically have 2 to 3 classes per day, going all the way until about 5 p.m. Any kind of free time that you have outside of classes, instructors are always there to help you if you have any questions. Of course, there's students all around you that are working on similar projects, so you really get to learn from each other as well.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Josh, and thank you, Jeremy. I hope that this conversation continues and you can continue to comment and chime in on this debate on this page right now. And please check out our new site, seeker.com, where you can find so many cool articles and videos about this changing world that we're living in. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Bye.